Good morning, everyone. My name is David Baror. I'm a physician, and I'll be presenting on behalf of Ampio our drug Ampion for the treatment of COVID-19. I will be a little briefer than the previous discusser by not going too much into the science. Can you move to the next slide? As we are a public company as well. Those are the forward-looking statements that we have to put before our slides. Next slide. This is myself. You see my picture. In brief, I'm a physician. I am also a scientist. I have a background in molecular biology and biochemistry, and I am a co-founder of Ampio with Mr. Michael Macaluso. I currently preside over 6 level 1 trauma centers research programs all over the country, and I also run the stroke research program at the Swedish Medical Center in Englewood, Colorado. Next. So a brief overview of the company. Ampio is a company that we founded based on in-house developed and invented technology to advance immunology-based therapies for very prevalent inflammatory conditions. One of the focuses of the research we're doing here is inflammation. Of course, we strive to have a safe and effective therapy, and we also look at therapies for conditions that have very limited options for treatment. One of the key strategic advantage we have is that we have proprietary manufacturing processes and a facility, a manufacturing facility for our drug. The company is based in Colorado, in Englewood, Colorado, and is next slide. So I'm not going to touch about everything about COVID-19, but specifically talk about the cytokine storm. So the cytokine storm is something that has been published quite a bit recently, and it's essentially a dysregulated immune response, which is basically an impaired interferon response, allowing the hyperactivation of the immune system. And so what you see in this condition, you see a hyperactivation of the immune system that causes the disproportional or dysregulated immune response and secretion of cytokines, chemokines, and many other compounds that cause damage to the lung and many organs in the body. So IL-6, TNF-alpha, CXCL10, IL-1 beta, IL-12, and many others are increased. And recently, some publications were focusing on the bradykinin storm, which is another compound that's secreted and is high in COVID-19 patients, severe COVID-19 patients. And bradykinin is a compound that will increase vascular permeability, and it's controlled by a compound that does cause the increase of bradykinin. Next slide. And so here is very brief, because talking about the mode of action of Ampion will take a very long time, but in very brief, you can see here the mode of action, or part of the mode of action of Ampion. So Ampion, as you may know, is a product of an approved other product, albumin, serum albumin, and albumin has been used for probably 70 years and used in millions of people. And what we found was that the low molecular weight fraction of serum albumin contains several compounds that have biological activity, specifically anti-inflammatory and healing properties. Those are, the low molecular weight fraction of albumin is what constitute our drug. So in the manufacturing process, we remove the albumin from serum albumin and use just a low molecular weight fraction. It contains several biologically active components, and what we are showing is effects on many biochemical pathways. So it has effect on transcription factors such as peroxisome polypeptide gamma. It has an effect on aryl hydrocarbon receptor, and also on guanosine exchange factors, EPAC1. All of those lead to anti-inflammatory properties, and also reorganization of the cytoskeleton of the cell, causing the cortical actin ring distribution and adhesion, so that it in endothelial cells, so it prevent vascular permeability. We also have an effect on NF-kappa B, STAT1, and AP1, or other transcription factors that are really, we are inhibiting those, so we repress the cytokines that are involved with that. Next slide. And so our COVID-19 program, we found that this mode of action that Ampion has probably will fit very well with the cytokine storm and the inflammatory reaction that we see with COVID-19. So we have two studies. One, we just completed an IV study where Ampion was given intravenously to patients. Patients were patients with respiratory distress requiring oxygen supplementation. We had 10 patients included in that study. 5 received the standard of care, and 5 received standard of care plus Ampion intravenously. And that was done during a 5-day course of treatment. And the other mode of delivery, which we just announced this morning, started today, is by inhalation. So we can deliver Ampion through a nebulized form to patients intubated, or to patients on mask, or patients with cannulas, nasal cannulas. And this study will include 40 patients, 1-to-1 randomized to either standard of care or standard of care plus Ampion. And of course, the endpoint for that study will be to look at safety, and the second would be to look at some efficacy by analyzing the effect of oxygenation parameters, etc. Next slide. So here I just wanted to present a very preliminary table of efficacy of the IV study that we just completed. We're still analyzing, and the study is not complete, because by FDA requirement, we are looking at safety at 28 days and 90 days post treatment. So one of the efficacy measures that we were looking at was the Ordinal Scale. And the Ordinal Scale, as you can see on the left-hand side, is a scale that was developed at the World Health Organization, and it's a categorical scale that 0 means uninfected or healthy, and 8 means death. And so on the patients that we had in that IV study, in the middle table, you can see that when Ampion was added to the standard of care, the change in the ordinal scales from baseline to discharge from the hospital was the best. It has -3 points versus the standard of care that was -1.5 points, or not by design, the patient who are receiving standard of care only, 4 out of the 5 will also receive remdesivir. And so we were looking to see if there was any difference from that. And you can see that it was slightly better than the standard of care, but Ampion addition was much better. And if you looked at the table on the right side, you can see that the score at discharge was the lowest for Ampion treatment. The lower number means the better in terms of severity, and compared to the one for standard of care and or standard of care plus remdesivir. So, in summary, we have a drug that could be considered a platform drug that is used for multiple indications, and here we are showing 2 modes of delivery, IV or by nebulization. Thank you.